What's going on, people? Welcome to the United View. Welcome to the heat. 30 degrees up here outside Old Trafford here in Manchester. And welcome to your Manchester United transfer news. Now, listen, Rice is not on the menu. Now, according to Manchester Evening News outlet, they've been saying that this is weird. United don't want Declan Rice as much as Declan Rice wants Manchester United. And that's the bit I find mad weird, because obviously you're looking at the situation with Rice. He loves Chelsea, the Mason Mount link up. That's what his thing is. We're in for Ruben Neves, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the show. A little bit of an update on Varane as well. We're going to talk about that. But we're trying to sort out the midfield. That's one thing, like I said about in the last show, the noises that we're making. But what's interesting with this Declan Rice story is that, okay, it's come from domestic journalists here at the Manchester Evening News. Samuel Luckhurst is the source, and he said that Manchester United, Declan Rice likes Manchester United more than Manchester United like him. And I find that weird. Look, the price, definitely. I think the 100 million that was being quoted for Declan Rice was an absolute farce. I don't think that's worth it. I laugh and joke and said, look, if you called Declan Rice now and said, mate, are you worth 100 million? I think even he would tell you that he's not. So the price is an issue, definitely. That's one reason why I think we wanted to stay well clear of him. But also, maybe his willingness or kind of his reluctance to come to Man United / willingness to go to Chelsea. But obviously with Thomas Tuchel going there, maybe there's a bit of a question mark. And West Ham don't need to sell. They've just gone into the Europa League. They're trying to get Jesse Lingard off us, and they don't have to sell Declan Rice now. So it was always like a no-go for me. But to hear the story put that way round, which is that Declan Rice would quite fancy it, but we're the ones saying, nah, maybe not. That's interesting. I mean, there were reports that Declan Rice is basically saying, I'm not going to sign a new deal at West Ham. I'm going to stay on what I'm on because I don't want to price myself out of a move. And and listen to offers. At the moment, that's what we're hearing is the opposite. The fact that Declan Rice would actually like to come to Manchester United. Do I believe that? Would he fit Manchester United? My thing on Declan has always been, I think he's good. I think he's got potential to get better as well. But nowhere near 100 million. Like, we talk about English premium tax of what is on a lot of players. That would definitely be one for Declan Rice. 100 million. 50 million, 60 million, yes, 100%. I'll have Declan Rice all day. And if it was going to be around that price, then I'm all for it. But I just can't see how it will. Yes, we're trying to hold on for a bigger price for Jesse Lingard. West Ham think that's too expensive. So that's where you maybe make a make way for it. But it just feels off. Just like I said, the Goretzka thing. Yesterday when we were talking about that, it feels off. I get the same vibes with this. Because Declan Rice, look, he would fit the profile of our team, 100%. But for a player of his magnitude, of what that would be for if West Ham wanted to sell him now, I just think we haven't got that kind of budget. And that's the reason why, actually, I do feel like we would distance ourselves from that. We're trying to get Varane over the line. We still haven't announced Sancho, but we've spent that money on that deal. To go and spend upwards of 70 million. If you went to West Ham's door today, to Sullivan and Gold or whoever owns it now, and said, how much do you want for Declan Rice? They're not going to say anything less than 70 million, in my opinion. Anyway, I don't know what you guys think. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So for me, I can see why we want to distance ourselves from it. Maybe not from a footballing perspective, because he's a good player and he can improve our team. But also, if we don't get enough outgoings, we'll touch a little bit about Donny van de Beek later in the show. If we don't get those outgoings, we don't know what's going to happen with Paul Pogba. Where are we going to find 70 million from? Yes, we're looking at Camavinga, which I don't think is going to happen, but you're looking at that type of player, 30, 35 million, 40 tops, 70 plus. I just can't see it. And you guys know, like I said, my thoughts on the Declan Rice situation, which is that I think he's good. I think he's got a lot of traits of what McTominay has. But he's better on the ball than McTominay. Other than that, I think they're almost carbon copy. I think the way they move, the way they get about the pitch, how they are in the tackle, winning the balls in the air. Maybe Scott might even shade it with that. But on the ball, I would agree that Declan Rice is better. But 100 million better than McTominay? I'm not here for that. What we do a lot, not just in the fan base, but just as football fans, is I feel like we look at other players compared to our own. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes I feel like we rate the players that aren't at our clubs way higher than the players that we have, even if they might be marginally better. Do you know what I mean? So for me, Declan Rice is better than Scott McTominay, but not by millions of miles, not by a trillion light years. I just don't see it. Not 100 million pounds better. So, but that's just what you have to pay if you want a player like Declan Rice, upwards of between 70 and 90 / 100 million pounds. So I understand that. So maybe that's why we're staying clear. The next one is Ruben Neves. Now, this kind of broke late last night. and has kind of picked up a little bit of steam. Arsenal obviously in for him. Not hard to knock Arsenal out the race for anything, but you know, they're doing a madness, God knows. But we are in for Ruben Neves. Now, I put out a couple of tweets about my feelings about it, and I was saying, well, I like Ruben Neves. I do like Ruben Neves, but maybe not in the system that we currently play. We're talking about Ollie, who's going to change the system, go to a 4-3-3. I don't mind that at all. I like that. In a 4-3-3 with some legs around him, I like Ruben Neves. He can pass between the lines. Can he break up play massively? He's shown me little glimpses of that, but I don't see him as a destroyer. I don't see him as somebody who runs around and intercepts and breaks up play and is a real combative midfielder. I see him as someone who, with a lot of time on the ball, which is how Wolves play, with just him and Moutinho in the middle, a lot of space. They don't get pressed a lot because they play on the counter-attack. He can break the lines with his passing, 100%. Good striker with the ball, good at set pieces, etc., etc. I do like Ruben Neves, but I wouldn't have Ruben Neves as my out-and-out holding midfielder, me personally. I don't think he can get around the pitch well enough, in my opinion. If you're saying to me we're going to play a 4-3-3 with, say Pogba left, and you're going to say Bruno, Neves, and then you need one combative defensive midfielder in there who's tenacious and got legs, for argument's sake, it might have to be Scott McTominay, which I don't think that balance would be right. But what I'm talking about is a player who is as mobile as that to get around the pitch. I would have that. But in a 4-2-3-1, Neves would need to, say it was Neves and Pogba and Bruno, balance is all off. Balance is all off. I'm sorry, this is just my opinion, but we're not playing FIFA. Yeah, on FIFA that might work, or on the new football game that Pez is now, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Pez is gone. R.I.P. Pez, by the way. R.I.P. Adriano. R.I.P. Master League. R.I.P. North London Red, Man Red, West London Blue, you know, Merseyside Red, all them teams. Anyway, I'm going off topic now, but it's not those football games where you just put these players together. Our balance would be all over the place. We already got Pogba, who the defensive side of the game is not his game. It just isn't. People say it should be. People say he should be doing more. He should try harder. He should play with more intensity. I get that, but it's just never been his game. You're asking for something that he's never had. Ruben Neves, for me, isn't that player. So imagine putting those two in there with Bruno. That would be, I think, on paper it looks great. But in reality, with the balance of the squad in midfield, I think you need a destroyer in there, which is the whole reason why we put Pogba on the left and gone with McTominay and Fred in the first place, because we don't have one single player who can do that on his own. So I don't think that would work. But if Ruben Neves was to come in, it would depend on how we're going to play. I do like him, and for £35 million was what he's been tipped for. It's a fairly decent price, and he's experienced as well. He's played in the Premier League, he's played at international level with Portugal, and clearly, obviously, Bruno Fernandes is going to want him to sign as well, which is what has been reported as well, that Bruno Fernandes is behind pushing that agenda for him to sign. Look, we're not going to sign players off the back of players saying, get him, and then we just have to listen. Of course not. But if you look at the dressing room and how it's been built up and the contingency in there, you're starting to get little clicks. You got Sancho, you got Maguire, you got Shaw, you got Wan-Bissaka, who's English. You got that little click going on. You got Rashford, Greenwood. You got that little click going on. So that's the little English contingent. If we keep Paul Pogba and get Varane, that's him, that's Martial, a couple of French guys in there. Then you look at Ruben Neves. Then you look at, what's his face? Bruno. Little Portuguese contingent going on there. Then you got the Spanish kind of speaking players. You got David De Gea. You got Juan Mata. Then Cavani will be somewhere between the Portuguese and the Spanish, with Fred in there, Brazilian but Portuguese speaking. There you go. So you're starting to build your little kind of cliques within the squad, but good cliques, you know, players that can get along and really make something happen. So look, if Ruben Neves does come, I don't mind that at all. I don't mind it. I would have concerns with how he's going to be used and what it would mean. What would it mean for Donny van de Beek? What would it mean? You know, how would he fit into that system? People are saying don't get rid of Donny van de Beek because he plays a his position is perfectly made for a formation of 4-3-3. So if we're about to change to one under Solskjaer this season, which we still haven't really got evidence of, it was pretty much a 4-2-3-1 against Derby. We'll see what we do on the weekend against QPR, and then again against here at Brentford. Here at Old Trafford against Brentford midweek. I think that will be a more telling sign as to where we go. There's those games at Old Trafford and the games in the last week leading up to the season to see where we're at. But we haven't really had too much signs of a 4-3-3, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But if it is a 4-3-3, Donny van de Beek can slot into that fine. I think that someone like Ruben Neves can slot into that fine. But just to finish off on Ruben Neves before I move on, it's a different thing. Wolves don't play great football. They play 5 at the back with 2 in the middle. Yeah, that's what they play. And then 3 up front. When it's him and Moutinho, it's a whole different ask to being in that midfield too, playing on a counter-attack with wing-backs either side of you, 3 centre-backs behind you. You're very, very well protected, and you're playing on a counter and hitting balls through the channel to Traore or Prudence or whatever. They play in a very different way. Wolves don't play attractive football. To come here, people were saying to me on Twitter, yeah, but look at what Michael Carrick done. He didn't need to be fast, flex, etc. I understand that. But it's a whole different level of football. A whole different level of football. What's going to be expected of Ruben Neves in that holding position here is not going to be what's expected of him at Wolves. He's going to be on the ball a lot more. We're going to be on top of teams a lot more, or you would hope we're on top of teams a lot more. We're going to be dominating possession a lot more, where we want to come away from a counter-attacking side. And we need him to find passes quickly and get on the ball and get about the pitch more so than he would at Wolves, in my opinion. You guys may think I'm totally off on that one. The argument is, but Flexie's 1,000,000% better than McTominay and Fred. He's better than those two on the ball, 100%, 100%. But what he gives you on the ball and stuff, he doesn't give you in the same as how McTominay and Fred get about the pitch. And that's but this is the problem that we actually have with this position as to why we're probably finding it so hard. Who's attainable in terms of can get about the pitch well, because we have that already, but is very good on the ball and can pass. Because McTominay and Fred, they're very mobile central midfielders. A lot of we know what they're lacking, but you got to give them credit of their attributes. Their attributes are they're very energetic, they're very combative, they can win the ball back quickly, and you know they're in the opposition faces. That's their strengths. Their weaknesses are positioning. Sometimes leaves a lot to be desired for, and obviously on the ball they're both not good enough on the ball in terms of transitioning from defence into attack, passing through the lines. They show it in glimpses, especially Fred. I think sometimes he shows it in glimpses, but then other times it's just way off the boil. We know it's not good enough. But in comparison to Ruben Neves can't get around the pitch like those guys. He ain't got no legs. I don't see it. But on the ball, he's fantastic. So we're trying to find that balance of player who can do that job by himself. By himself. So for me, I'm not too sure about that. Right, on to the next one, which is Raphael Varane. Fabrizio Romano, but there was noises coming out yesterday saying, look, hold fire. This deal is not as far ahead as you think it is. This deal is not as in an advanced stage as you guys think it is. Hold fire. There's still not even personal terms agreed between the player and the club. Fabrizio Romano comes straight out and basically says, what I've been saying before is what's happening now. Yeah, Man United have been in contact with Raphael Varane. He does want to leave, and it's just about the club sorting it out. So really, there's not really any news on that. It is as you were. I know there was a little bit of a scare, people saying, oh, is it going to fall through and stuff like that. And look, the reality is, this is why you can't get too excited until he's holding up the shirt, although I have been, because I'm so emotionally invested in this transfer. You lot know this. But you have to think of it like this. Until he's holding up that shirt, we just do not know. That is the truth of the matter. We do not know. But that's your latest on Raphael Varane, which is basically not much movement. I did want to touch on Diogo Dalot as well. He wants to go back to Milan. Milan are trying to get him back on an initial loan, with an option to buy 3 to 5 million for the option of the loan, and then a fee at the end of that. Manchester United really pushing for that, but there's some way of a difference in opinion with the valuation, and that leads us into Trippier, which Manchester United would still actively like to bring him in as well. And the thing is about Kieran Trippier as well, which I've said, I actually believe he wants to come to Manchester United. I do. I don't know that. That's just my opinion. And I think he'll bring a lot to the team as well. You look at Cavani, if he was playing with the crosses that Trippier can put in, linking up with Jadon Sancho, that could be a madness, as well as Wan-Bissaka as well, doing what he does. So it would really strengthen us on that side of the pitch. For me, I was saying instead of going out and buying something, just keep Dalot. But clearly Dalot's had a taste out there in AC Milan. He's played the whole season. He's going to want to go and play football. I think Kieran Trippier coming to Man United, like I said many times before on here, it's not a foregone conclusion, but I mean, if he arrives, people seem to think that he's just going to be back up to Wan-Bissaka. If Kieran Trippier comes, I won't be surprised if he plays a lot more than we all think he will. And that's not saying that Wan-Bissaka's not up to it, because he is, and he's fantastic. He's getting better and better. But you just never know. I still think that Kieran Trippier could come in and have a massive say in that squad. I really do, and I think Solskjaer knows that. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. And Donny van de Beek as well. You know, I saw him back at Carrington and he's back in training with Martial. The rest of the squad are in Surrey as they prepare for the game against not Crystal Palace, against QPR on Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m, which we will be there, by the way. If you are at the game, come have your say on the fan cams. We'll be there. Donny van der Beek, he said he's reiterated his stance that he wants to stay and fight for his place, and he's okay with that. I just feel like he's going to keep coming up as a make weight because of his lack of game time that he had last year and the lack of basically using him. So. And he's got value. He's still one of the. We forget we got one of the a bright spark of European midfielders in our squad with Donny van der Beek. He's good. He's good. Like the season before, Real Madrid wanted this guy, and it just didn't work out for him last year, and then he got injured at the wrong time. So I think we should keep him. I don't see how he plays a lot more unless we change certain things. We'll have to see what happens with Pogba. We'll have to see who goes out, who comes in. But for me personally, I just want to see it work for him. You know, that's what I want to see. Anyway, guys, that's your latest Manchester United transfer news. Again, I will see you guys at the game on Saturday, but we'll have some more transfer news for you guys tomorrow. Peace.